Welcome to the party. You found the Mouse Castle Lounge, the place to be for good times and great conversations from the world of Disney. The bar is open, your table is waiting, and drinks are now being served. Come on in. And now, here's your host, the keeper of the Mouse Castle Lounge, Tim Calloway.
Welcome to the lounge. It's November 8th, 2015, and I'm Tim Calloway. We've got a really fun show for you today. It's all about high-end Disney collectibles and how you can get your hands on them. Joining me are Catherine Williamson with Bonhams and Mike Van Eaton with Van Eaton Galleries. Both organizations are behind some pretty impressive auctions of some truly rare Disney and Disneyland items this month. So get out your wallet and stick around. But first, it won't cost you a dime to keep up with the Mouse Castle. Visit us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Mouse Castle. On Twitter, I am Disney Tim, and please follow the Mouse Castle on Tumblr, Pinterest, and Instagram. Got any questions or comments about the show? Just email us at podcast@themousecastle.com or call our listener line at 702-475-5MCL. That's 702-475-5625. And we encourage you to visit the blog at themousecastle.com, where you can download the free Mouse Castle Lounge app for your mobile device. Just click the pic that says, Get the app. If you're a collector of rare and unique Disney memorabilia, or even if you just want to see some pretty amazing stuff, November is the perfect month for you. There are 2 auctions scheduled for later this month that you really need to check out. On November 21st, Van Eaton Galleries in Sherman Oaks, California is auctioning off a massive assortment of Disneyland items, some dating back to the park's opening in 1955. This is the second time this year that Van Eaton Galleries has had a Disneyland auction of this magnitude. Looking for a Space Mountain ride vehicle? They've got one. A Skyway bucket? Yep. How about a PeopleMover car? I might have to fight you for that one. This auction isn't just big-ticket items either. There are plenty of more affordable things like Disneyland brochures, menus, ticket media, park guides, and maps to satisfy any collector's curiosity. All told, there are over 800 items in the collection. Also this month, on November 23rd, the auction house Bonhams is partnering with Turner Classic Movies to present Treasures from the Dream Factory. It's a collection of nearly 400 items of movie memorabilia with some pretty amazing pieces like Judy Garland's dress from The Wizard of Oz, a replica Rosebud sled from Citizen Kane, and an authentic golden ticket from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. For Disney fans, though, the prize of this collection is an assortment of original signed photos of Walt Disney taken in Europe during his Red Cross service at the end of World War I. Included among these items is a scrapbook of signed cartoons drawn by Walt around the same time. It's believed that never before have this many items with this much historical significance in Walt's early life ever been sold at auction. Not surprisingly, these items come with a heavy price tag. The photos are priced as high as $60,000 each, and the scrapbook comes in between $250,000 and $300,000. It will surprise no one if these items end up selling significantly higher. Joining me in the lounge today from Bonhams is Catherine Williamson, Director of Entertainment Memorabilia, and following her, we'll hear from Mike Van Eaton with Van Eaton Galleries. It's all about history, auctions, and vintage Disney collectibles today in the Mouse Castle Lounge. With me now is Catherine Williamson. She's the Director of Entertainment Memorabilia at Bonhams. Catherine, welcome to the Mouse Castle Lounge.
Thank you so much.
This is an exciting time for you. Now, I know that Bonhams does big auctions, year-round, dealing in a lot of historical items, a lot of fine art. But there's something that's kind of special about the movie memorabilia auctions, isn't there?
Most definitely. We look forward to this auction all year long. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of property, a lot of very high profile and delicate pieces in the sale. But thanks to our partnership with Turner Classic Movies, it reaches, this sale has a platform that none of the other sales have, and it reaches a much wider audience. So we meet and talk to and sell to a much larger community of people than we might say for a more traditional collecting area. So all of that is very exciting.
And again, it's your third year working with Turner Classic Movies on this particular auction, which this year is Treasures from the Dream Factory. Before we get into what's in this year's auction, what are some of the more notable items that have been auctioned off in the past?
Our first year, which was 2013, the sale highlight was the statuette from the Maltese Falcon. So the little lead Maltese Falcon that Bogart carries under his arm at the end of the Maltese Falcon that
The
the
stuff
whole film is
dreams are
about.
made
Yeah.
of.
The stuff that dreams are made of. We sold that in 2013 for a little over $4 million. And then last year, for the second sale, we had two sort of tentpole items. We had the piano from Casablanca, Sam's piano, which we sold for about $3.5 million. And we also had the Cowardly Lion costume from The Wizard of Oz. This is the one that Burt Lahr wears virtually for the entire film. You could see the fur patterns on screen and on the suit itself. And we sold that piece for about $3 million.
Oh my goodness. Now you sell items that some of the rest of us can afford too, right?
We do. I mean, it's funny. Yeah, obviously there's a lot of press and a lot of attention to the seven-figure pieces, but a tremendous portion of the sale includes material that's priced $1,000 and under. There are a lot of posters. There are a lot of signed photographs. There are costumes maybe from less well-known actors or less well-known films that are really not very expensive at all. And one of the reasons why I think entertainment memorabilia is such a growing area for collecting is that a lot of different people can enter at different points. If you have a more modest budget for collecting, there's still a lot of great material you can get in that price point.
And now, this year, again, you do have some pretty impressive big ticket items. What are some of the showcase pieces this year?
We have a lot of great pieces this year. We have a screen-worn dress worn by Judy Garland as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. We've got not one but two Marilyn Monroe dresses. One is a gown from River of No Return, and the other is a suit that she wears in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, and they're both in fantastic condition and just really tremendous works of studio construction. Like they're perfectly made costumes. We have a racing suit worn by Steve McQueen in Le Mans. We have a sled, a Victorian sled that is actually Herman Mankiewicz's Rosebud sled. It's not a screen-used sled. It is a sled that was given to Herman Mankiewicz, who is the screenwriter for Citizen Kane, at the conclusion of principal filming. So it was a gift to him and it modified to say Rosebud at the conclusion of filming, and it's been in the Mankiewicz family from 1941 to the present. So that's a really terrific piece as well. Some other great pieces, there's a group of 3 rare Casablanca scripts. Hard to find one Casablanca script, but this is a group of 3, and they include this very rare early draft that no one's ever seen, and a later shooting draft, and then Jack Warner's bound copy of the script of Casablanca. All of these are grouped together. We've got a couple of cars this year. We've got a Herbie from Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo.
I saw that. That is awesome.
I know. This Herbie is the invisible Herbie, meaning that it's been modified so that the actual driver of the car doesn't sit in the front seat. He sits in the back seat. There's actually a spot that's been cut out from the back seat, and posts that go from the pedals in the front to the back seat, and a steering wheel in the back seat. So a driver sits down low in the back seat and can work the pedals and the steering wheel and drive the car around, but when it passes you on the road, it looks like it's driving itself.
Great.
The other star car from Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo is Giselle, the Lancia that he falls in love with during the race and chases around the track. So we have that car, the Lancia, as well, both in our gallery right now. It's really lovely to see them.
Yeah. One of the really cool items I saw too, you've got a golden ticket.
We've got a golden ticket, exactly. We have a golden ticket, and it comes to us from the gentleman who was construction manager on the set in Germany. And his name is Henrik Weinens, and he contacted us early in the year. And yeah, he built the sets. So in his collection, we have a script. We have candy wrappers from some of the other candy. He has a golden ticket, and he has some other kind of interesting design material related to the film. But he, according to Henrik, this is Charlie's golden ticket, and he grabbed it at the conclusion of filming of that scene. He asked the director if he could have it, and he did. So it's a terrific piece. It's such a, I think, if you talk about what are the great pieces of film memorabilia, this is one of them, right? This is this immediately recognizable thing. It has all this cultural cachet. It's so important in the movie itself, right? It's not just a prop. It's the actual plot device. You have to get the golden ticket to go to the factory to have the tour. And then of all the golden tickets in the film, and there were 5, right? They gave out 5.
Mm-hmm.
This one is Charlie's. So this one is a great piece.
And what is the auction price for the golden ticket?
We have it in at $10,000 to $15,000.
Already then.
Yeah. I think it'll do much better.
I think it will. I mean, there are some items that fans and collectors get an emotional attachment to, and I would think that a Willy Wonka golden ticket would be one of those items.
Right.
You also have some very interesting vintage items that belonged to Walt Disney. You have a scrapbook that he used, we think, if not actually during the time that he was serving in France with the Red Cross after World War I. If he didn't actually take it with him, it was he drew in it and used it around that time. What is the story behind the scrapbook? This just sounds wonderful.
It is a really amazing piece, and it is from 1918. He signed and dated it several times in the book, Disney 1918, and executed around the time that he decided that he was going to, his older brothers had joined the war effort and been sent over to Europe. He himself really wanted to follow in their footsteps, but he was too young. He was 16. He didn't turn 17 until December. So he really wanted to join the effort. The military would not take him. The Red Cross actually had a younger threshold. You only had to be 17 to sign up with the Red Cross. So he actually doctored his birth certificate, changed it from 1901 to 1900 to apply to the Red Cross. He and a friend applied, and they were accepted into the Red Cross's volunteer program. They got accepted, and then peace was declared, and he thought he had missed it. He thought he had missed all the excitement, but it turned out he ultimately was one of a smaller group of young men who were chosen to go to Europe anyway and help with the drawdown, to help with the hospital system as they decreased their presence. Yeah, so he got to go kind of by the skin of his teeth. To me, it's like he kind of had this amazing junior year abroad, right? He missed the dangerous part. He missed the war, but he got to spend a year in Europe with the Red Cross, and according to his own oral history and his biographers, it was kind of a wonderful time. He was attached to several hospitals, and he spent his time as an ambulance driver, but he also wound up giving a lot of tours to military VIPs, driving around the countryside. Basically, it sounds like just having an amazing time. Yes, he would have had some exposure to death and destruction. He was driving injured soldiers. As one hospital would be, temporary hospital would be shut down, he would have to move the patients from that to another one. So he had some, exposure to the horrors of war, but was not the same as had he gotten out there a year earlier and had he been in the middle of a war. So he had this kind of amazing period of time in Europe, and I think it must have been so important if you look at his body of work, not just the films, but if you look at Disneyland and how inspired that place is by Europe. And I think it had to be a really important period in his life, kind of a magical year where not only did he get to explore Europe and have this amazing time, he also became a man. He went from being a boy to a man.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have in our sale, we have this group is about 10 lots, and they break down actually into 2 separate archives. While he was in Europe, he was corresponding with 2 women who went to high school with him. And one is a young woman named Beatrice Conover, and the other is, and that relationship is fairly well known, and the other is a young woman named Virginia Baker. The biggest piece in this group that we're offering is, as you say, this scrapbook that he produced and gave to Virginia Baker. And the scrapbook it's like a scrapbook that was produced for service members. And he has doodled on the front cover, the inside cover, the back page, the inside back cover, and the back cover. And then he gave it to Virginia, and Virginia actually used it as a scrapbook herself. So there's all this information from her life during that year as well, so parties she went to and shows she saw. It's a really interesting historical document. It's hard to know when he executed it and when he gave it to her. We know it's 1918, and we know that he left for Europe in November or early December of 1918. So he could have mailed it back, but it could have been done in that period, like after he signed up, but before he was sent away, as he's waiting to join the war effort. It's clear he's thinking about overseas, and he's thinking about the war and what's happening and what he might expect to see once he's there, or perhaps if he is there. There's a cartoon of a doughboy kicking the Kaiser off a cliff. There are several cartoons about trench rats. There's a tiny doughboy and a giant trench rat. The trench rat is 3 times the size of the doughboy.
Even then, he was drawing rodents.
Yes, I think one of the things that struck us and that struck some of the people who looked at this early on is that, look, here's maybe the earliest sketch of a rodent that we have by Disney's hand. But this rodent is terrifying.
Yeah, it's not cute, doesn't wear pants, no buttons, nothing like that.
No, doesn't sing or dance. It looks like it's going to eat a doughboy.
You have some photos in the collection as well, and for Disney fans and for people who appreciate Disney history, there's one very recognizable, almost iconic photo of Walt standing in front of one of the Red Cross ambulances, and on the side of the vehicle he had drawn a doughboy soldier on there. This isn't a reprint. This is the original photo, isn't it?
This is it. Yeah, it's a photo postcard. So if somebody took it, and he would have, that would have been not very complicated to get it printed in a postcard format, where the photograph is on the front, and then the carte postale and the place for postage is on the back. Yeah, and he sent this to Virginia Baker, who's the woman who had the scrapbook and who had a lot of the other material as well. Yeah, this is a remarkable piece. It looks like a lot of wartime pictures. The ambulance is sort of beat up. He's sort of in the French countryside somewhere. There's sort of a dilapidated building. You can't tell if it's war torn or if it's just sort of run down. And he is standing there. He's in his uniform. He has a very serious, kind of dour look on his face. But just to the right of him, as you say, on this sort of pull-down shade, is this really silly sketch of a doughboy that he clearly put on the shade himself, and it's just sort of this wonderful moment caught of Walt transitioning to adulthood and giving you a glimpse of the man he will become.
And there's also a what can only be called a questionable moment where he's seen picking up an artillery shell.
Oh my God, I don't think it's so funny, but it's another small photograph. This is not even a photo postcard. This is a photograph that someone's taken of him, and he's picking up an unexploded artillery shell. It looks like it's about 3.5 feet. I mean, a major shell. Somebody has painted the name of the town Reims on it, so I think we can feel pretty secure that it's not explosive at this point. Somebody else was able to paint on it, and maybe it's a gag that everybody is playing with. But yeah, it just seems like insane teenager thing to do.
Yeah,
you would
exactly.
pick up a shell and have your picture taken with it.
Oh, that's funny. Now, you aside from these very personal items from Walt Disney's early life, you have some additional artwork from the Walt Disney Studio. What are some of the items that you have there?
We have a really nice collection of animation cells that kind of came in independently of the Disney archive. So the Disney Archive, the kind of historical look at him in his early years. And by the way, that scrapbook is probably maybe the earliest known set of drawings, the largest collection of early drawings that's ever come on the market. And the signed photographs might be some of the earliest ones, certainly, to come onto the market. It's a really tremendous thing. But we've got a terrific collection of animation cells, and a lot of the important films certainly are covered. We've got some great Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs cells. We've got Snow White, but we've got a really great collection of the dwarfs, Grumpy and Dopey and Doc. We've got one of my favorite Mickey films. We've got a cell from The Brave Little Tailor, and it's this great image of Mickey with the needle and the thread. We've got the Ugly Duckling, which is another favorite of mine. Sort of great cells of the ducklings, sort of bullying the ugly duckling. And we've got Donald, and a couple of cells from a really early, interesting, from Mother Goose Goes Hollywood, which I'm sure you probably know that.
That's a wonderful cartoon. That's just some great caricature art there.
Yes. So we've got Laurel and Hardy from Mother Goose Goes Hollywood.
Nice.
There. In fact, all of the cells, except maybe one, are Disney Studios. Here we have a great Mickey, just a kind of a great Mickey one, but we've got things from Three Caballeros and Pinocchio and Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Cinderella. I mean, a lot of the major Disney films are represented in the sales.
Now, if people want to see all these items, obviously we can go to your website at bonhams.com, but you're going to have these items on display at your Los Angeles and New York locations, correct?
That's correct. It is currently on display. It's in our Los Angeles galleries. It's on display today, 6th, 7th, and 8th here in Los Angeles. Then we take everything down, we put it on a truck, we send it to New York, and we set it up all over again. And it will be on display in our New York offices the 20th, 21st, 22nd, and the morning of the 23rd of November. And then the sale itself takes place at 1 p.m. on November 23rd. And
these gallery viewings, this is open to the public, or do you have to be registered with the auction to see it?
No, free and open to the public. Come on, come all.
Nice. Now, if I did decide that I wanted to register and bid on the auction, how do I go about doing that?
Well, I think maybe the easiest way is to simply go to our website. There is a button that helps you register for an auction. You have to have a little bit of communication with our client services. We need to get you registered and get you fill out some forms and get you set up. But it doesn't take very long. It's fairly simple. My advice is don't wait till the last minute. There's always a rush at the very end, and while it's very easy to register on the internet early, it's more complicated if you wait till 24 hours before the sale. So
makes sense.
Do it. Don't put it off. This is one of those things that procrastination doesn't get you where you want to be.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Get right on it. Okay, again, the auction is Treasures from the Dream Factory. It's being put on by Bonhams with cooperation from Turner Classic Movies. The auction comes up on November 23rd. Catherine Williamson, thank you so much for spending time today with me in the Mouse Castle Lounge.
You are welcome. It was a pleasure.
And with me right now is Mike Van Eaton with Van Eaton Galleries, who for the second time this year has cleaned out Disneyland's attic and has an incredible exhibition and auction coming up called Collecting Disneyland. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm great, Tim. Thanks for having me.
I was going through your catalog and it's absolutely staggering. There's like 270 pages or even more than that of nothing but Disneyland memorabilia, some going back to day one, other more contemporary stuff. What kind how did you bring all of these items together for this particular exhibition and auction?
Well, luckily, I'm a collector, and I know a lot of collectors. And as you mentioned, we did an auction earlier this year that was from one person's collection. And when we did that auction, of course, the other collectors I know and collectors I'd never met before came up and said, hey, I have some stuff like that. And, would you be able to sell that? I said, gee whiz, let's take a look. And lo and behold, here's another auction. This one is about 20 different collections. And I was able to go into these people's collections and just look for stuff that was unusual, that I hadn't seen before, or that I thought was historically important, or just outright fun, and we put together this catalog.
How many items are in this collection?
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask me that. As a matter of fact. Wait, let me just cheat 1 second here.
Okay. I said 270
over 800
pages of
items
stuff.
For sure. Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, but it's and it could have been more. I just at some point we have to cut it off, unfortunately, and say, because we don't want to be here for 15 hours auctioning stuff off. 832 items.
My goodness, that's crazy. And you have got some impressive showcase, set piece kind of items. You've got some ride vehicles. What are some of the vehicles that you have?
We do have some ride vehicles. We have some really amazing showcase pieces. The ride vehicles for sure. We have a PeopleMover there are 2 cars of a PeopleMover from 1967. A pair of cars that were actually matched on the ride that I think when they took the ride out, these were used on display in the queue area for rocket rods, and that's why they survived. And base mountain vehicle on a ride vehicle. And both those vehicles come from one collector who took 3 years to restore them to working order. So these vehicles actually, like the PeopleMover, the doors open, the top lifts up so you can walk into it. It plays the soundtrack from the ride. It's incredible. The Space Mountain vehicle, it has speakers in the headrest, and you can actually wire this. It plays the soundtrack from the ride, but you can wire it to a TV or to a stereo, sit in it, watch TV, and have the sound come out of the speakers. It's wonderful. The lights work on them. They're pretty incredible. And then we also have a vehicle from the Skyway, from the old Skyway that used to go from Tomorrowland to Fantasyland, right through the Matterhorn. We have one of those cars too. And those are pretty neat. You could make a breakfast nook out of them. They're a nice size. They're really good size.
Yes, and those are the more squarish ride buckets as opposed to the cylindrical
ones. Right, not
the
circular ones that they had in the very beginning. These would have been when the new Tomorrowland came in, like in the 60s, yeah.
Right. And the PeopleMover vehicle, if I'm correct, if people who attended the D23 Expo and saw your booth at the Expo, this is the same PeopleMover vehicle that was on display there, wasn't it?
That's it. That's the same one, exact one, yes.
Wow, I got to sit in that and have my picture taken. I feel special. That's so cool.
A lot of pictures were taken in that. So it's a lot of fun. The collector that actually had it in his backyard under a canopy, and he would throw parties, and people, he'd play music through it. People would sit in it and just enjoy it. It was a lot of fun.
That is fun. I've tried to understand, the mindset of people that like to own ride vehicles. I suppose if I had the money, I would do it. But I think it takes a special kind of collector to want to go all in on a ride vehicle, particularly if they're going to restore it.
I think that's the trick. I know a lot of collectors who have gotten ride vehicles, and they don't know what to do with them once they get them. They end up in a warehouse. They end up, just sitting around. But when you get these that have been restored, just like a car collector, I mean, you have a really unique piece and something that is functional and can be used in some way or another. It makes it a little bit special.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the other more notable items and some of your favorite pieces from this auction?
Well, my favorites may not be the most notable. I like a lot of different things. I just like stuff that has a lot of eye appeal. Ashtrays. For some reason, I like ashtrays. These old ashtrays, and there's some really cool ones in this auction. Little souvenirs are always fun for me. But we have some pieces like Jack Skellington's head from the Haunted Mansion, from the Holiday Haunted Mansion. When you come down to the graveyard, you see an animatronic Jack. We have that head.
Yeah, you have a number of animatronic items.
Yeah, this is actually pretty interesting. Besides that Jack's head, we have an actual animatronic head that was made at WED and used in Tokyo Disneyland. But those animatronic heads haven't changed in the 50 years they've been using them. The same mechanics, same steel frame, everything. It's the first one I've ever seen operate. It has teeth and eyes. We even have the silicone head that goes over it, but by itself it looks really cool. I don't know if you have you can see the picture there in the catalog, or you can see it online, but it's a really, really cool piece. I like that a lot. And as I say, it's the first one ever offered. And that's pretty cool. We have Indiana Jones's hand from the adventure ride, the Indiana Jones Adventure Ride. We have a remote control boat from the Disneyland Hotel that I just love that piece. You used to put a quarter in and be able to drive them around a pool right by the pool at the Disneyland Hotel.
Was that the Jungle Cruise boat, or was that a different?
Yes, the Jungle Cruise boat. And so it's really cool. It's got all these little people in it, and it's just, I love it. Absolutely love it. We actually have in that ride, or in that attraction, there was a mock-up of the actual Jungle Cruise building. in Adventureland. We actually have that building also.
Oh my goodness.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's really neat. I'm in love with it. But it's gigantic. You need to have a place for it. Fair warning for the building. It's like 7 feet by 8 feet. It's huge.
You can put it next to your Space Mountain ride vehicle. Yeah.
Exactly. Put it next to Space Mountain ride vehicle in the pool, and you'll be fine. But yeah, it just goes on and on. There's a lot of really cool stuff, a lot of great documentation, a lot of early concepts when they were building Tomorrowland that are really impressive. A guy named Gabriel Scognamio, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. He was the art director for Tomorrowland. We got a lot of stuff from his estate. A lot of documentation where he's talking to U.S. Time about building the world clock, and talking to TWA about putting their logo on the rocket, things like that. It's just sort of really cool stuff. You can pretty much see the building of Tomorrowland, the designing of it there. A lot of Herb Ryman designs that he did for Tomorrowland. It's pretty amazing.
Yes, you have a pretty impressive collection of poster art too, and these aren't reproductions. These are actual posters that hung in the parks, correct?
That is correct. I think we have about 40 posters from the park, all originals. A couple of them even have the original artwork for them, which is very impressive. But some wonderful attraction posters, a couple that we know, there's only a handful that exist, 3 or 4 that I've ever seen. Flying Saucers being one, Flight to the Moon being one, really hard posters to get, and they're all beautiful. Came from one collector, and it's a really, really impressive collection.
Yeah, of course, my favorite is Adventure Through Inner Space, which I'm actually looking right now in the catalog. I'm totally drooling over that one.
That's a great one. We actually have, believe it or not, we have the disco ball that was actually in Adventure Through Inner Space, and they would reflect the snowflakes off of it as you went into the ride. The snowflakes would get bigger and bigger, and we have that. And then we have these slides from the Haunted Mansion that are amazing. These glass slides that were used for the changing portraits. So they would meld from, being normal to whatever their picture was going to be. So there's like 6 glass slides showing the progress of the painting that are impressive. We have some film of the singing tombstones, the 4 guys singing their parts on the tombstone that was been used to, play through the, just amazing.
Oh, so the actual film that was projected on the bus?
Yeah, exactly, on the tombstones, right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's in there. And we have a hand in there from coffin, the guy trying to get out of the coffin, and little things like that. We have a butler uniform, one of the cast member costumes. There's a lot of great Haunted Mansion stuff,
and a lot of costumes too. There, I saw a lot of cast member costumes there. Some of those absolutely horrible 70s era Tomorrowland outfits.
Love them. Yeah, I know. Those are great. Yeah, we pretty much spent with costumes and patches and badges. We pretty much span the whole history of the park in this auction. It's pretty cool.
Well, you have a good deal of this on display at your gallery in Sherman Oaks, correct?
Everything is on display until auction day, or even on auction day, from 10 to 6 every day but Monday. Monday we take a break. It's a great collection just to come down and look at. It really is. And we have catalogs here available. The auction is live here on the 21st. We pitched like a wedding tent in our back parking lot, and there's plenty of food and drink, and the local restaurants near us and the bars actually stream the auction, so you can walk over and get a drink while the auction is going on and not lose your place. It's a lot of fun.
Nice, yeah, because I hate it when an auction interferes with my cocktail time. I really do.
I hate that too. Actually, because these auctions, this is going to be probably a 8-hour auction, and so we want people to be able to, when they're waiting for a lot to come up, be able to take a break and grab something to eat and not say, "Oh, I just missed the piece I wanted to bid on." This way they'll know where they're at in the auction.
Now how many people do you expect to come out for this?
Well, we welcome everybody. Usually, because of the internet is such a powerful tool, most people stay home and just bid live on the internet. But we like to get 100, 150 people here. It'd be great. We're happy to have more. Like I say, there's plenty of food and drink, and it's actually a lot of fun. If you've never been to a live auction, they're really fun to experience. They get very exciting, a lot of bidding, a lot of yelling, the auctioneer going off and people on the phones, and it's sort of an experience. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And if people want to find out more about the auction, I mentioned the online catalog. Where do they need to go?
They just need to go to thegalleries.com, and that's our main page of our website, and there's links there to see the catalog online, to order a hard copy of the catalog, to actually register to bid, or you can come down here to 13613 Ventura Boulevard in Sherman Oaks and visit us live.
Fantastic. And the auction again is on Saturday, November 21st. What time does it start?
21st starts at 11 a.m. We like to sleep late, and so it'll start at 11 a.m. and go till it ends.
And keep on going until you're done.
Yeah, we fly through them. Usually do about 100 lots an hour, especially with the smaller stuff. You know, it may slow down when you get into some of the bigger stuff, but it definitely gets done. And as I said, it's a lot of fun. It's at a fast pace, and it's a great thing to experience.
Fantastic. And, speaking of the smaller stuff, and this is what is very cool about this auction, it covers all price ranges. So, I mean, it's not just 5 figures or more for ride vehicles. There's actually stuff, people like me can afford. A lot of ticket media, a lot of brochures from back in the day.
Great paper goods. Yeah, there's great paper goods, which, and a lot of the stuff starts at $10, and $20, going to probably go in for under $100. There's also a really unique section in there of old brochures from hotels that were around Disneyland that sort of lived off of Disneyland, the Peter Pan Hotel, the Tomorrowland Hotel.
I saw one for the space age and got totally nostalgic.
Oh, man, they're so funny. They're just to come and look at them, they're just really funny. The pictures are great, so they're great.
All right. Well, again, the collection or the exhibition and auction is Collecting Disneyland. It's Van Eaton Galleries. Go down and see it. Go online and see it. Mike Van Eaton, good luck with the auction, and thanks for spending time with me today in the Mouse Castle Lounge.
All right. Thank you guys so much. We'll talk to you soon.
And that will do it for this edition of the Mouse Castle Lounge. Thank you to Catherine Williamson and Mike Van Eaton for being my guests. Stay current with everything going on in the Mouse Castle Lounge. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. You can also download the free Mouse Castle Lounge app, which you can get right now by going to themousecastle.com and clicking Get the App. Anthony Reynolds and I host Inside the Mouse Castle with your weekly dose of Disney news, information, and commentary. We've moved the show to Tuesday night now, at least until we change it again, so please give us a listen. The Mouse Castle Lounge is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company. I just like to talk about them. I'm Tim Calloway. It's been a blast as always, so let's do this again real soon. Take care.